From afar, Jingling's and Pingan's voices could be heard as they broke out in laughter. Chu Qiao could not help but smile as well as she appreciated this moment. After she had dinner, she showered with the help of her maidservants. Mei Xiang and the rest had been exhausted from the journey. As Renjie needed someone to be by his side, Ma Xiang and 2 other nannies attended to him. The servants who were not aware of his identity thought that he was the son of Yuan Yu and Chu Qiao. Hence, they treated him with extra care. The shower room in Yuan Yu's house was big and made entirely of white jade, with hundreds of pearls embedded into the walls. With 1 candle, the room was able to be brightly lit. The water came from the underground hot springs in the Tsang Mountains and contained elements of dewdrops and medicinal herbs, giving off a pleasant fragrance. Large roses were placed at the bottom of the pool in order to prevent anyone from slipping. This was an extravagant sight. Huan Er had mentioned that when the emperor gifted Yuan Yu this mansion, Yuan Yu had personally inspected it beforehand. After he was done, he had said, after he dies, this place can fetch a good price. Chu Qiao smiled gently as she thought to herself, looks like you're really a bloodsucker. After she was done with her shower, she put on a white outfit and made her way back to her room barefooted. Huan Er was initially reserved at the start. However, when she saw that Chu Qiao was an amiable person, she started to open up and call her by her name, Xinger. She told her about Yuan Yu's life these few years repeatedly, only mentioning the good things. She seemed to convey this message to Chu Kayak. Xinger, luckily you knew how to turn back to our young master. That was a wise decision. Everyone will be jealous of you. Chu Qiao smiled as she listened to Huan Er's stories about how Yuan Yu did not involve himself with other women these few years, how he had broken other women's hearts. She listened to the stories of how Yuan Yu missed her every day, how happy he was whenever he heard news about her, how he could not fall asleep at night and drank more soup as a result. She also listened to the stories about how Yuan Yu spent the past few years in a pathetic state, how he was trampled upon by others, how he was ravaged by sickness, and how he was treated by his family. Slowly, the maidservant started to cry as she continued to say more good things about Yuan Yu. Xinger, don't leave young master anymore. He really loves you. The scent of a fine incense drifted around the room. Chu Qiao sat on a soft mat as she took a trip down memory lane, listening to numerous stories about what had happened in the past. Even a maidservant was aware of the love he had towards her. Only she required so many years to realize this fact. A servant knocked on the door, saying that General Yu Qi's wife had come to visit her. Hunter jumped out and ran outside immediately. In a short while, a beautiful lady walked in, dressed in a plain but classy yellow dress, holding the hand of a 10-year-old child. She had 2 dimples on her face when she smiled. As she saw Chu Qiao, she wanted to kneel down and greet her. Chu Qiao stopped her as she laughed and said, I didn't think that Yu Qi was so lucky. His wife is so pretty. Xiao Fei smiled as she revealed 2 teeth. She said to the child, Moer, call her mother. The child looked up at Chu Qiao and was stunned for a while. Suddenly, he opened up his arms and grabbed Chu Qiao's legs, shouting, Sister, you're here to see me. Chu Qiao was stunned as well as she lowered her head to take a good look. The child was adorable, had bright eyes, and was dressed in green as he looked at her joyfully. Sister, don't you recognize me anymore? I am more. Chu Qiao was stunned as well as she lowered her head to take a good look. The child was adorable, had bright eyes, and was dressed in green as he looked at her joyfully. Sister, don't you recognize me anymore? I am more. Chu Qiao suddenly recalled that this was Ouyang Mo, the child that they had adopted while they were traveling to the Tang capital together. It had been 6 years. The small boy back then had grown up. She embraced the child and replied in surprise, Moeller, you're so tall already. I almost couldn't recognize you. Moeller held her in an intimate embrace as he continued to say, Sister, where have you been? Why haven't you visited me in so many years? My father didn't mention you. I would have forgotten you, father. Chu Xiao frowned and looked at the two people on the side in suspicion. Xiao Fei corrected the child. Don't say the wrong thing, call her mother. Moer looked at Chu Xiao and asked, Sister, have you married my father yet? Who's your father? He's the chief marshal of WEL. Sister, don't you know him? Huaner explained as she stood by the side. After young Master came back, he adopted Moeller as his foster son. It dawned on Chu Xiao that Xiao Fei had already had 2 children with UQ. After chatting with them for a while, the woman was shy but likable as she blushed after barely speaking a few sentences. As Chu Xiao had just gotten back to the house today, Xiao Fei and Mare left after a short while. Before they left, Moer made Chu Xiao promise to visit him whenever she had time, as he was fearful of her leaving him again. As Yuanyu was not back yet, Chu Xiao told the servants to take their leave so she could rest. She had not been in good health these few years. After traveling for the past few days, she felt immeasurably fatigued. The bed was soft and warm. Chu Xiao lay there for not long before she drifted off into deep sleep. After an unknown period of time, she felt someone kiss her in a dreamy state, but she refused to wake up. She acknowledged it lazily and turned to the side of the bed. A cold arm suddenly embraced her as a warm breath landed on her ear. She felt Hornock itch. She frowned and opened her eyes to see Yuanyu lying next to her, dressed in a purple robe. He stared at her with his bright, black eyes, laughing as he said, Are you still the Xinger I know? Allowing people to take advantage of you so easily. Chu Xiao laughed as she wrapped her hand around his neck. Someone's too agile, able to disappear at will. I can't find that person. Yuanyu smiled as he lowered his head to kiss her. Did you sleep moderately well? Chu Xiao leaned into his embrace as she continued in a playful tone, If you didn't come back, I'd sleep better. Yuanyu smiled as he pretended to Cheeto. You're asking for it. Looks like I have to punish you. As he finished his sentence, he lifted his arm. Chu Xiao closed her eyes in shock. However, after a while, she realized that he had not punished her. She opened her eyes and saw Yuanyu looking at her as per normal. She could not help but ask, Aren't you going to punish me? Why didn't you strike out? Yuanyu held her once again, lowering his head to kiss her neck. With a slight movement of his arm, her robe was unfastened, exposing her fair skin. Yuanyu leaned forward as he used more strength in his arm. With a low voice, he said slowly, How could I bear to? The flames of a pair of red candles flickered on quietly. The red lanterns covered up the flames slightly, causing a dim red glow to spread across the room. This was how Chu Xiao spent her first night back in Xinhuang City. Amidst a feeling of warmth, she continued to experience many such days that autumn. Although the leaves had fallen from the trees, the golden chrysanthemum flowers were in full bloom, adding to the majesty of the mansion. The days were like the spring water in the 3rd month, leaving behind pleasant, everlasting memories as they flowed by. On the day of the autumn festival, Chu Xiao followed Yuanyu out of the mansion to Xiangji Mountains, located 15 kilometers away. They took the chance to visit Anyuan Temple, located atop the mountains. Although Chu Xiao had spent 7 to 8 years in Xinhuang City, she had not visited the various tourist attractions. Previously, her social status did not allow her to do so. Nor did she have the mood to. However, presently, the tides had turned. Everything was different from before, hence she started to let loose.